Good afternoon. It's spring. It's spring in a lot of parts of the United States. In the north, it'll be spring in a month. How are you going to protect those little seedlings? Now, I'm still down in Arizona, and my gardens are in full force right now. But everyone has to decide how are they going to protect those little seedlings. Sometimes you have those cold nights. Sometimes you just want to protect it from the wind. What are you going to do? Well, this is Sandi at Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona, and we're just going to do a little porch talk about protecting your seedlings this year in your garden. Now, I have really 4 different ways to protect those seedlings. And so we're going to go into each category and we're going to talk about it a little bit. Now, I like to save money. And if I can do anything that I don't have to pay for, especially in the garden, that's what I'm going to do. Now, maybe you don't drink soda, but maybe you do know somebody who does, or bottled juice in a plastic container, in jugs. This is just a soda can. I can use both parts. Sometimes I just want to warm up that soil. I put a seed in there and I want to protect it. I don't want it to get too wet, too cold, too dry. So on this bottom part, what I do is I just cut a slit right here. That way I can send a stick through there, or a wire. Usually it's just a bamboo stick. Go into the ground, and then this will stay where I want it to. Plus, that little slit makes some air circulation. If you have those really warm days, you got to take these off. You don't want to fry those little tiny little plants. This top part, you can simply take the lid off until you have some venting in there. You can also send the stick down through here or cut a slat. It's free. People throw these away all the time. There's all kinds of bottles and jugs. In fact, you know those 5-gallon jugs that you can get water in. You can cut the bottoms off of those. They wear out after a while. They get yucky. You're not going to put your water in there. Cut the bottom off of it and use those. Now, you call it a cloche when you're protecting it like this. And there's a lot of ways that you can do it. But soda bottles, water bottles, milk jugs, juice bottles, any kind of plastic that you can cut the bottom off or cut it in half depending on the size and use both halves just to protect those seedlings. In Wyoming, we have a lot of wind. I mean, a lot of wind. And one of the things that can really dry out a seedling is that constant bombarding of the wind. Anything like that just stops that. It protects it. It gives it a little blanket around it, really. That's my number 1. Recycle something you got. Now, what about other kinds of plastics? Other containers, other things that you could use. I have many times taken PVC pipe, bent it over, had some rebar in the ground or some stakes, and then just covered it with plastic. You could cover it with garden fleece. And though it's larger, it's still that same idea. The walls of water that people buy, it has little cells of water. It's basically the same idea. It's warming up the soil, it's protecting from wind, it's still letting some sunlight in there. And that's what you want. But I was going through some stuff and I have an empty tub. You know, a big tub. You know, you get it with the lid. You store stuff in it. In your garden, you can simply just turn that over. And even if you're only covering some of those things at night when the temperatures go down, it will hold the heat and the moisture in there. Because in one of my big tubs, I don't want to put holes in there because I'm going to use it for something else. But anything that you can use like that. So number 2 is plastic containers. Now, let me show you one other thing that goes along with that one. I was at the Dollar Tree store This is a plastic cloche. It opens and shuts for ventilation. So during the daytime, I'd open it up. At night, I'd close it. But look at all that space in there for a plant. It cost me $1.25. Not a bad deal. But let me show you a better deal. And I'm not getting paid for this. I just ordered these. Now these, they're plastic. There's actually 10 of them. They come with their own stakes. I got these off of Amazon from Drip Depot. I got 10 of them for $4 and some cents. Free shipping. How can you go wrong with that? Some of these you will just have on your plants a week, 2 weeks, a month, depending on your weather. But I love the idea that the stakes are already there. And there's little holes down here. There's a hole for ventilation, but these stakes just go in there to secure it down because you don't want plastic going all over the place. That would be ridiculous. Don't do it. But for $4 and some cents, I'll leave the link in the description if you want to use it. My brother had ordered some of these and he says, hey, you need to check these out. I couldn't believe the price. Number 2, that's just plastic containers. Number 3, glass. The French used to, and they still do, you can still buy them. They look like a glass bell. They're similar to the shape of this, only they usually have a knob on top. And this was a glass cloche that the French did for hundreds of years. And they would cover their seedlings so that they could start their vegetable garden early. Now I love the idea of these. They're beautiful, they're spectacular, and they're an extreme amount of money. So I don't buy them. But what could I do with glass to get the same effect? You could use some large flower vases. You could use mason jars turned upside down to protect your plants. And they're very heavy, so you just push them in the ground a little bit and they will stay there. Remember, with all of this, if it's a very warm day, you know, anything really above 70, take it off. That plant is going to get way too hot in there. It's going to be 100 degrees in there. What about glass bowls? I have some really deep glass bowls. And in the springtime, I can use them. They're glass. I'll just wash them up. And then I can use them whenever. I have used sheets of glass. Sometimes, you know, because I'm a painter, I have a lot of glass. People give me frames. And I like museum glass versus just the glass that comes when I get gifted those frames. And so I've just pyramided them. And even though the ends are open, I could block it off if I wanted to with more glass. And I'll just put a wire, I'll bend a wire, lean the glass against it, becomes like a pyramid or a tent, really a tent, not a pyramid. And it's got that ventilation on the sides, and it is perfect for protecting my seedlings. I've used entire windows just leaning against each other to do that. The one surprising thing I did one year, just because I had them, I had some little tiny seedlings, some brassicas. It was early, but I was itching to plant, really. I was impatient. And we had a fan, you know, that ceiling fan, and they have those little globes where the light bulb goes in. And I used those. And they so protected my little brassicas. And because you screw them in, there's a hole on top, and so there was good ventilation, and it just protected those little seedlings for a couple of weeks, and I was good to go. Number 4. What about wire? Now you may think, oh, the stuff will just go through there. Well, yes, but we can do stuff about that. At the dollar store, you can get these wire, they're just like a little trash can, but they're made out of wire. It's a wire mesh. Turn those upside down, and at night, I can literally just put a grocery sack over top of them to hold that heat in. I can put stakes through the wire mesh, or I can just use some kind of tent stake like these to hold it down. I can put a rock on top to hold it down. But that's an inexpensive way. I have taken, honestly, chicken wire and just made cages. Some of them domed, like a cloche. Some of them just the tube and just put the plastic around it or fleece around it. It all protects your plants. Because if you're going through the trouble of either buying seedlings or growing them yourself, why in the world would you want them to die? Because, especially in Wyoming, you never know that all of a sudden we have snow when we thought we were done with winter. The cool nights can really slow down your plants. So any kind of cloche, if it's bottles, jugs, plastic, containers, glass, wire, anything that can help your plants be more comfortable, to get stronger, to really send those roots out, is a bonus to you. So this is Sandi, Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona. I hope you take my 4 tips of things to do to protect your plants this spring. I'll see you next time.